Hello everybody, it's Andy Mack here, just bringing you a bench update for my 17th century, 1685, late 17th century, 1685 project for the Sedgemoor Rebellion, and here I am. So it's my last video I mentioned that I was going to make the units bigger, bringing them up to 32 man units rather than 24, which they were previously. Also, I've done the Grenadiers. I'm going to do some more Grenadiers because when I ordered them on the ratio for the 24 man unit. So as you can see, there's a gap in each of the ones, which would make it rounded up nicely for the Grenadiers. Incidentally, most of the time the Grenadiers would be brigaded anyway, so that they would be in a unit of their own. Which makes so it'd be more like that. So it would be a bit easier to do then. But yeah. So as it is, I do plan to expand the Grenadiers a little bit. Also, you can see the pikes aren't all there, and nor are the flags. So I've received flags from Maverick Models. They're very, very good. When you order from them, they do contact you and say what scale would you like, and I asked for the small 15mm scale, which I've received. Now I'm just pausing because I like smaller flags, but they are quite small. As you can see, these ones here are from Pendraken, the 15mm, although Pendraken do 10mm, they are the 15mm flags that they sell also from, that's Kirk's, and they're quite a bit smaller than that. So I will buy some, probably ask them to also send me the same at the Pendraken scale, and I'll make my decision a little bit later. I'm also working on the pikes. Back in the day, Ross Figure Painting, which was a War Games channel which I rather liked, it's been dormant for a while. I haven't been no posts for a couple of years now that I know of. Ross from Ross Figure Painting is a war gamer. I don't know his circumstances currently, but certainly from when I last was aware of him, when he was posting his channel, he's quite a well-known wargamer who gets involved in competitions and would be seen at wargaming conventions. And he stands out because he's a Welsh gentleman, proudly so, and he wears a hat, quite a distinctive hat. So you can both see and hear him when you're at conventions, and he seems to be a very nice chap too, and quite a good attribute to the hobby. And he does some very good battle reports as well on his channel. So do have a look. It's still there. But yeah, he gave the idea for his 28mm. Rather than he was drawing comment on these people spiking himself and having storage problems for pikes for his Greeks, I think it were 28mm Greeks. So he's came up with the idea. I don't know if it's his idea, but he mentioned on his channel using brushes. Now I got this brush end from Argos for £11, and as you can see, these plastic ends are in fact quite good for making pikes or other spears if you're 28mm or whatever you want to do. Now they are, say, for 15mm, they are, again, it's going to be hard to actually focus. They are going to be on the larger side, but it's still doable, I think. And what you can do, why these are good as well, is that rather than having to grind or have a Dremel on the end of the wire, or pliers or whatever you want to do, not pliers, snips on the end of a wire pike, you can just use a craft knife and just shape a point on the end. And then what some people do, and I tried, is just pinching the end so you get a nice surface with which to carve out a little spike. It can make it look a little bit like a trident from what's his name, anyway, yeah, it can look like the end of a trident of I was going to say Nemo, but it's not Nemo, is it? It's it will come to me before the end, no doubt. But the Greek god who under the sea. Anyway, so yeah, moving on. So the end of the pipe, so you can do that. So I'm going to start experimenting with that. I can revert back. I mean, the florist one does look pretty good, but it's just the points were I find slightly annoying because they didn't weren't. I couldn't really get a very good point on them. I tried it with pliers and things, and it just didn't really work very well. So doing them. What else is there? So that's my 1685 project. Next will be, as say, I'm doing the militia units. All of Bath, Luttrells, and other ones, mainly West Country based ones. Interestingly, the Earl of Bath was blue and blue coats with red lining. Luttrells was blue coats with yellow linings, and I think there's another one which is yellow coats with red lining. So, and then I'll be doing a couple of other units as well that'll be generic for use of either militia or other theatres, like the Irish campaigns or the Killiecrankie campaigns a year or so later. Interestingly, these regiments are from Tangiers, so there's scope to do some sort of events in Tangiers. I'm not sure why the British had a little. I don't think it was a colony, but they had a sort of fortified base there in Tangiers for a number of years in this period. It didn't last. It came away. But whether it was there to sort of combat the Barbary pirates, perhaps, because they were very active during and a nuisance and problem for this during this period, who were enslaving coastal folk from British Isles into the North African slave trade. And if you look at the history of places like Penzance, Mousehole, and a number of the other areas, there's accounts of Barbary pirates turning up and enslaving the population, or some of the population. I mean, we're not talking about thousands of people; we're just talking about small numbers, but significant, and obviously quite a concern of the time, and taking ships in the same manner. So that's that. Right, another projects. I had arrivals from Gripping Beasts and Victrix for my Norman project, which was very much on the back burner there. The plastic figures, which is 28mm, which I may do a sort of skirmish on the Welsh borders type role-playing game for myself, a solo thing really. That's the idea, and have a sort of a lesser noble go to the location, build a Mott and Bailey, and then all the sort of role play the survival of that Mott and Bailey with charts and tables, and then have calls for having skirmishes with the.
How to help you with that?
Oh, sorry. That's Siri, stop. So the Welsh borders, bit of AI there, listening in on my conversation, no doubt. It's quite an interesting period, the early Norman expansion into Wales and the Welsh resistance to it. So I find that fascinating. So I may do something there. Anyway, that's a very slow burn, that one. But more poignantly is I'm doing my 2mm American Civil War, and also my 6mm, 5mm moderns. But the 2mm American Civil War is going to be a dual project with this one, and then what I'm doing is they're all from their regular. Interestingly, all these figures are regular. You can see from the late 17th century range, and the so I'm doing the 2mm irregular, and I'm putting them all on. These are some of them, but these are the ones which haven't got flags. But you've got units that have flags, and interestingly, the 2mm range have all different all different sizes of units. So you can have. Not just these are two ranks. 2 ranks, yeah. 2 files. No, sorry, 2 ranks. 2 rank deep units, but you can have them much deeper and in different shapes and sizes. They do horse as well. But anyway, so these are American Civil War. So what I plan to do, I'm obviously paying them. I'm planning to put them on these sticks as in units much like this, but in 3s, 4s, 2s, and 1s, and then just have them very generic, both Confederate and Union. And then I can create units and label those units. For instance, on Armstead or something like that. If his brigade, I could then just type out an Armstead label and put it near the brigade when I'm doing the battles, and so I can use these each 2mm element or base as generically. I've got a 4x4 piece of wood, which I'm going to then build the train for. I'm thinking at the moment it's going to be, I'll build the train for for Bull Run or Manassas, first and second Manassas or Bull Run. If I can probably build that terrain and then do both battles. So that will be the first one I'll probably do, the first Manassas, and then do the second Manassas thereafter on the same board. I'm having thoughts on the rules I mentioned previously in old videos. I'm using these rules by Cliff Knight and Peter Dennis and George Jeff with the association with George Jeffrey. These are 2mm or 6mm miniature rules. These are a very old set of rules, but I don't even know how successful they are. But they're quite. I quite like them. They've got it's quite simple. It looks, and they're quite straightforward. I have played them once before when I was younger and managed it then, so I don't see why I can't manage it again now. Although mine was very much a line them up and charge type scenario, which I won interestingly. So yeah, but I've also been painting up tents and things for them, and also got loads of houses which I'll build in. On the 4x4 probably will make the train. I've had a lot of thought whether to do things like papier-mâché or build up terrain using cardboard and then tape, which I've used for my Napoleon. It's like built so you get the not parcel tape. What tape would it be called? Decorator's tape. Sort of papery tape, and then you build your cardboard up, and then you just sort of stick it down with the decorator's tape, and use the decorator's tape to help make the hillside shapes and sizes, and just do it quite in a sort of scrap way. And then I've got a number of different fabrics. I've got one is obviously paper mache thinking process, but that will be quite messy. It's yeah, so it's just that one I'm unsure about the papier-mâché. It's quite permanent as well. Another one is just sticking cloth down onto the surface once done. So I'm a little bit unsure which. I've got cloth which I bought. I've got one which is a polyester cloth, a green cloth that I bought for only £3 or £4 from the fabric shop in Kingston upon Thames in London or near London. And then also I got some felt of similarly. The felt is a sandy colour, and the polyester cloth is a sort of green grass colour really, but slightly garish. So I'll have to probably paint that a little bit. And then the other thing is hills. Now at 2mm, as I said, 2mm. How do you show hills and scale them? So I'm toying the idea for the actual hills. I'll actually gently draw in contours. So although the rest of the terrain will be very much normal, if you like, at 2mm scale, if that can be such a thing, the hills will actually be demonstrated also by slight contours being shown, just so that you can see that it actually is a raised ground. Because I've noticed, even for my 15mm, when I do it with a cloth over the top of hills, they're very hard to see when you're on YouTube and things. So that's where we're at with that. Now the other thing is I was also doing. I looked at the prospect of doing Fire and Fury, so it'd be like Fire and Fiddly. But I think you can scale Fire and Fury down. It doesn't because they're based on a number of elements. You can quite easily use these. Obviously, a slightly different scale to what Fire and Fury is. I mean, but use these for the basis for Fire and Fury. And I've thought it through, and although there might be some compromise, I don't think there's an awful lot. And rather than use, is it inches they use? You would use centimeters, and half it and change that to centimeters, and it looks credible. I say I haven't tested it or do anything with it, but it looks a possibility. The only thing is that these rules are based on 1 millimeter is 8 yards, so it does make for quite a big area of battle, whereas I think the Fire and Fury is 1 inch is 40 yards or something like that, so it's about half scale. These are half these are Fire and Fury is a bigger scale to the American Civil War rules, so, and I quite like the thought of having a big area of battle to cover as well, rather than the Fire and Fury. So anyway, it's all food for thought at the moment. And I did look at also the one that the Little Wars do, the the chap Greg from Mythal Wars, he does something called Altar of Freedom or something, which didn't really. I've read that through and I bought them, but on PDF. But I'm not wholly convinced I want to use them for this project. But I will then have a second look at them as well. But at the moment, it seems to be going well for using these rules, and it might even be that once I've got everything set up, I can always convert to the Fire and Fury rules in as well. But yeah, I am going on a pace with this now. So I've got the board. I've just got to get a decent map, which I can then utilise to scale properly up onto the 4x2 board. Whether I do the actual battle on a slightly smaller than the actual 4x4, because if you take it right to the edge, so I might do it slightly smaller, 3.5 by 3.5 or something like that foot. But we'll see how it, and I say I've got lots of buildings and stuff from irregular bridges and all different size bridges all here, which I'll still need to paint. But I'm doing the figures first for that. And that's where we're at, I think, at the moment. I'm just trying to think, is there anything more? My other Moderns project that's still very much all ready to sort of start progressing with. I got most of the things I wanted, and it's just really to do it. The sort of AK-47 Modern Wars coup type scenario, executive outcomes, that kind of thing. But that would be something again. I want to get one project done first. So it may well be actually the 2mm project will be complete before the 15mm, because there's still quite a lot to do on this 15mm project. We've got the terrain. I've got quite a bit of the terrain which I can paint up, but I just want to make some of it as well, and also obviously I've got the other armies to do. I don't think the armies will take that long now. I've got more time on my hands, but it's just and I've painted up an awful lot of the cavalry and stuff already, sort of 2/3 of painting, not final details, but on all the base colours, and I just need to sort of tidy them up really and get them. And I've got to buy a few more as well, because there's quite a lot of cavalry actually relative to the number of figures in Sedgemoor. Okay, so that's it, Andy Mac, for the time being. I don't think there's anything more to bring you up. So I'll bring you the other, like the flags and the pikes and the Norman stuff on another video probably, as will the more on the American Civil War once I get rolling with that. It's still kind of formulating the plan for the American Civil War, but I have been painting up all, and I did buy some of the irregular stuff I got from a eBay purchase, which fortunately had a lot of them, well, had quite a few of the armies already painted, so I'm just sort of following on from there really. But yeah, that's the idea. Now it does make, I thought by having it on these sticks and having like a 3, and then if I wanted to have casualties, you just remove one of these and or bring out a 2 or a 3 or 1, and you can quite easily do that. So we'll see how we get on. But yeah, and I'll bring you another feature as and when. Andy Mac, have a good weekend, folks. Andy Mac out.